Today, we're going to be watching YouTube shorts.
Did you know that in Baldi's Basics Plus, there is now a green button in the elevator? Formerly in 0.13, you just had to press the red button in order to enter the schoolhouse. And then once you get right back, you're just good and done. But now when you first enter the game, you just go right into the schoolhouse. There is no red button anymore. And in order to get to the next floor, you have to press the green button. And did you know what also hasn't changed yet? It's this TV monitor thing. Why didn't you change it yet? Did you know that in Baldi's Basics Plus...
My principal hung me on a coat hook yelling, "Congratulations for being the school loser," and even threw a dart at me, but I ducked at the last second. I spent the entire lesson hanging there until my best friend walked in and got me down, but the principal was already watching from the camera. So when I went to the hallway, he stopped me to apologize and even patted me on the back. I just accepted it and walked off when suddenly I got punched from behind. While I was on the floor, he asked me for $10. By the time I got up, there was a line of people waiting to hit me, but then I noticed a note on the floor. I knew it was the principal. During PE, we had a test. I was first in line when he appeared again. He said we were doing tryouts and took us to a different course. Within a second, he grabbed me holding a taser and made me go through it. So first I had to run across burning rocks and even mouse traps, while the principal with PE teacher were streaming it all on Twitch. On my way home, an ice cream truck drove past, offering free ice cream. So I walked up to grab one when suddenly someone grabbed me from behind and threw me into the van. They drove me to an abandoned circus and even said I had one last wish. So I shouted crying, "I want to meet Cristiano Ronaldo!" One of them immediately pulled off his mask, and it was him. We just looked at the principal, and he kicked him straight into the lion cage, yelling, "Sue!" Principal hung me on a coat hook, yelling,
"This song is glitched. Every person has tried making a..."
My principal hung me on a coat hook, yelling, "Congratulations!" My principal hung me on a coat hook. My sister's boyfriend blasted me with a paintball gun and shouted, "This is my territory now, crybaby!" I reached for the leaf blower nearby, but he stomped on my hand, grabbed it, and blew me straight into the neighbor's new flower bed. I thought he hadn't noticed me, but the moment I started sneaking away, he snatched me, stuffed me into a flower pot, buried me up to my neck, and even started watering. I tried everything to get out until a delivery drone dropped a package straight on my head and the pot tipped over. So I came back home and just wanted to go to sleep, but when I reached for the handle, my door was locked. I started pulling it until it swung open and I flew backwards. Inside was him, but he let me in and even offered to play on his PS5. Right before I sat down, he clipped a leash onto me, dragged me outside, and pointed at the doghouse. I had to sleep there while my dad was in my room with him laughing from window. The next morning, I went to school, but when I walked in, the nervous teachers gathered around me and immediately kicked me out of the building. I didn't know what was going on until I reached for my phone and saw messages sent to them overnight. The moment I started walking home, the SWAT team pinned me down and grabbed my bag. I literally got arrested for a water pistol he had planted in my bag. After a few weeks, they finally let me go. That night, I snuck into a house, covered him in honey, and placed a wasp nest outside his window. When he woke up and opened it, the wasps flew in. He ran out screaming, but the moment he stepped outside, he slid and landed straight into a cactus while I shouted, "Don't cry, it's just a little..." Sister's boyfriend blasted me with... My dad dumped me into a cement mixer smiling, "Enjoy your spin, doggy." Suddenly I spun out and landed straight in fresh concrete. When I tried to get out, he placed a sign next to me saying I was homeless and put a cup beside me, so people walking by started throwing coins in. I thought I wasn't getting out until I spotted police officers. I started screaming for them, but the moment they pulled me out and I was about to walk away, they stopped me and gave me a ticket for illegal begging. After that, I got back home, but the moment I walked through the door, I tripped over a wire. Before I could get up, my dad appeared holding my own dirty sock and knocked me out. I woke up in a basement, and when I looked around, there were people in masks staring at me. I just laughed until they took them off. They were my teachers. They handed me every test I had ever failed, and I had to retake them all. I immediately started shaking and collapsed on the floor, so they carried me outside for fresh air and called an ambulance. But the moment it arrived, I jumped in and drove off like in a gangster movie. On my way back, I got a call to a construction site, and when I arrived, I realized it was my dad. I put on a paramedic uniform so he wouldn't recognize me. But instead of helping him, I laid him on the stretcher, tied him to the crane, and before he could say a word, I was already in the cab spinning him around, laughing, "Enjoy your spin." Dad dumped me into a Karen rolled her stroller under my bike and shouted, "Serves you right, good boy." Within a second, I fell off and was about to throw my bike at her until a crowd gathered around us. And when I looked at her, she was already rolling on the ground, screaming that I...
Tough game.
My stepdad smashed my birthday cake into my face, laughing, "Happy birthday." I went to my mom, but she made me apologize to him and threw my present in the trash. I immediately started crying and ran to my room until I fell down the stairs and lost a tooth. So they took me to the dentist. But when I walked in, my stepdad and the dentist were laughing. I had no idea what was going on, so I just sat down in the chair. The dentist took one look and said, "I see cavities everywhere." Without a second, he drilled into a perfectly healthy tooth while my stepdad was filming the whole thing. When I walked out, my entire face was swollen. The next morning, I was going outside when suddenly my stepdad stopped me. He said I had to mow the lawn or I wasn't going anywhere. But the moment I started the lawnmower, it took off so fast that I crashed straight into the neighbor's car. I managed to get home, but a moment later I heard someone inside. My stepdad had let him straight in, and the neighbor made me polish his entire car with my tongue. Later, my parents said they were going out. The moment they left, I snuck into my stepdad's room, but his laptop was open. He had been posting videos of me the whole time, and every incident was staged. So the next day, I slipped an AirTag into my mom's bag. They spent the whole evening at the dentist's office celebrating their millions of views. I waited until they fell asleep, broke inside, unlocked my stepdad's phone with his Face ID, and went live on their channel. I tied all 3 of them to chairs. When they woke up, I was standing over them dressed as a dentist, holding the drill. I just looked into the camera and said, "Who is first?" Stepdad smashed my birthday. My grandma smacked me with my dirty underwear and shouted, "Clean up after yourself." I just laughed and turned back to watch TikTok, but she snatched my phone and said I was
Want to build a butt?
A gym bro dropped a barbell on my foot, yelling, "Catch it, loser." I tried to pick it up, but fell straight on top of him. He got angry and launched me across the room. I could barely stand, but I still had leg day to finish, so I kept going. But the machine was taken by a girl. I asked when she'd be done when suddenly I felt someone breathing down my neck. When I turned around, it was him. I froze. He picked me up, tied me to the machine, and started doing sets with me. When he stopped, I was destroyed. Every muscle in my body was on fire, so I went to the sauna to recover. I was sitting alone when suddenly I heard something. A moment later, I started sweating harder and the steam got hotter. When I tried to leave, the door was locked. He was standing outside laughing at me. I thought I was going to cook alive until a cleaner opened the door. The next day, I went to play basketball with my friends. But when we were playing, I spotted the exact gym bro with his crew. They immediately started laughing when I tried to shoot. So he walked up, folded me like a ball, and used me to score a 3-pointer. I got stuck in that position, and the fire department had to come to get me out. A few days later, we met at the store. He started walking towards me when I got into my Lamborghini. His girlfriend was sitting right next to me. I rolled down the window, tossed his ring straight at him, and said, "Catch it, loser." Gym bro dropped. My cousin slid a bar of soap under my feet, laughing. "Watch your step." I immediately lost control and flew straight out the window into the bushes. Somehow I survived, but my entire body was covered in mud, so I went to take a shower. The moment I stepped in and the water hit me, I started screaming. My cousin had turned the boiler up to maximum. I ran out to teach him a lesson, but when I opened the bathroom door, a bowling ball swung straight into my face. I woke up in the emergency room. I had no idea what had happened. My cousin was standing right next to me and handed me my favorite chocolate. I took a bite and immediately started howling like a dog. It was filled with raw onion, and when I jumped up to grab him, a nurse sedated me and wheeled me straight into isolation. After a few days, they released me. As soon as I got home, my family had a surprise. They were taking us to the lake, so we went for a swim, ate a waffle, and even hit the amusement park nearby. We went on the roller coaster together, but when the ride started and I turned around, my cousin was gone. He was down below, bribing the ride operator with a limited edition Prime. He stopped me at the very top. I unclipped myself and started screaming at him when suddenly the ride launched. In the last second, I grabbed the bar and held on for dear life, flying through the loop like Superman. By the time I hit the ground, I had already ruined my pants. When I got back, the whole family was having a barbecue, so I couldn't do anything. But then my cousin fell asleep, so I quietly carried him out, tied him to the inflatable, and stuck pieces of bread all over him. When he woke up, he was in the middle of the lake attacked by seagulls, but I was just on FaceTime yelling, "Hope you can swim!" Cousin slid a bar of soap under my feet, laughing, "Watch your step!" I immediately lost control. My neighbor pinned me to the fence, yelling, "Welcome to the neighborhood," and even taped a sign on my chest that said, "Kick me." So every person walking by did exactly that. After an entire night, I finally broke free. But when I got home, my parents immediately grounded me from gaming. And when I looked through the window, he was just standing there laughing at me. I couldn't leave it like that. So I waited until everyone fell asleep, snuck out, and covered his entire house in eggs, flour, and toilet paper. In the morning, I was going to school. I saw his family cleaning up his house when suddenly I felt someone grab me from behind. I got snatched and woke up on a farm. The moment he let me out, he handed me a toothbrush and told me to scrub every single pig. But the moment I finished each one, they rolled straight back into the mud. When I got back, I called the SWAT team, saying my neighbor had a bomb. They showed up in seconds. I spotted him trying to escape through the back, so I screamed, "He's running," and he got grabbed instantly. They found nothing suspicious, but discovered he had been illegally collecting protected seashells for years, so they arrested him. 2 years later, when I was riding my bike, I spotted him. He was staring at me like a villain. I tried to ride past him, but he threw a banana peel under my wheel, and I flew straight off my bike. He was standing over me holding a bubble gun when suddenly a guy dressed as Batman ran out and knocked him out. I started thanking him when he took off his mask. It was my dad yelling, "This is how I met your neighbor." Pinned me to the fence, yelling. My dad sent me out to sea and yelled, "See you never." I couldn't do anything because I was tied up. I thought the sharks would get me until I spotted a boat nearby, so I started screaming. But as they got closer, I realized they were pirates. They untied me and took me onto their boat. After a few hours, we reached an empty island. But when I was about to leave, they snatched me and dragged me deep into the jungle to their base. I knew this was going to end badly, so I pulled out my phone and started filming them. Suddenly, they froze. I showed them TikTok, and they immediately let me go. But I spent the entire day trying to get my phone back. I walked with no idea where I was going until I was surrounded by tigers. They looked like they hadn't eaten in a week, but I remembered how I talked to my cat, so I did the same. They just walked up to me, sniffed me, and started playing with me. The next morning, I spotted a spaceship. I thought I was hallucinating, so I started walking towards it when suddenly a group of aliens came out holding laser guns pointed straight at me. But then I noticed their engine was broken. I knew how to fix it from Forza Horizon, so I walked past their guns and fixed it. They bowed down and handed me their walkie-talkies so I could contact them anytime. After a week, I finished building the boat and offered everyone a deal, so we sailed straight home. When my dad opened the door, he immediately collapsed on the floor. I just laughed and said, "See you never." Dad sent me out to sea and yelled, "See you never." I couldn't do anything because
This FNAF mod is insane. With over 80 custom animatronics and faithful recreations of the first 4 games, it has pretty much everything, even working.
my brother pushed me into traffic shouting, "See you on the other side." A car was heading straight for me and I froze, but it swerved at the last second, causing a massive crash. My brother was already filming on his brand new GoPro and ran off. I came back home to destroy him. He was already hiding behind Mom, knowing I couldn't do anything. Then I was making lunch, but before I could even finish, he snatched it and bolted away. I was just watching him until he took a bite. His face immediately immediately went completely red and started screaming like my math teacher. I had predicted it, so I already added the entire bottle of wasabi and a Carolina Reaper. The next morning, a package arrived. My brother was downstairs, so he grabbed it and opened it. Inside was a brand new MacBook. He scratched the screen with a fork, ripped off the keyboard, rode his bike over it, and threw it in the neighbor's trash. But when Mom came back home, she asked if he had seen the package. He said he hadn't seen anything. It was his birthday present. I couldn't hold back my laugh. I had seen everything from the window. A few hours later, I was up in the cherry tree picking fruit when suddenly I heard a noise below. My brother grabbed a saw and started cutting it down. I had no way down while the tree started falling. But when it hit the ground, it landed straight on top of him. I just put a cherry in his mouth and walked away like nothing happened. The next day, I heard my mom screaming, so I went downstairs to check it. She had found his GoPro and watched everything he had done to me. He was begging for forgiveness, but it was too late. Brother pushed me into traffic shouting, "See you on the other side." A car was heading straight for me and I froze, but it swerved at the last second, causing a massive crash. My brother was already filming on his brand new GoPro and ran off. I came back home to destroy him, but he was already hiding behind Mom, knowing I couldn't do anything. Then I was making lunch, but before I could even finish, he snatched it and bolted away. I was just watching him until he took a bite. His face immediately went completely red and started screaming like my math teacher. I had predicted it, so I already added the entire bottle of wasabi and a Carolina Reaper. The next morning, a package arrived. My brother was downstairs, so he grabbed it and opened it. Inside was a brand new MacBook. He scratched the screen with a fork, ripped off the keyboard, rode his bike over it, and threw it in the neighbor's trash. But when Mom came back home, she asked if he had seen the pack. A doctor injected something into my arm, saying, "This won't hurt a bit." But I couldn't handle the pain and started screaming. He just smiled and walked away. A few minutes later, they took me for rehabilitation. I thought it was going to be normal exercises until they put me on a hamster wheel and told me to run. After an hour, I couldn't run anymore, but the nurse said I either keep running or stay longer in hospital. Then it was dinner time. I was so hungry that I could eat anything until they walked in with a bowl of rabbit pellets and a dish of water. I was about to throw up, but the nurse started feeding me like a baby. The next day, the doctor came in just for a routine check. Everything was fine until he pulled out a hammer. He told me to stick out my knee and not to move. And at the moment he hit it, I flew straight up and slammed my head into the ceiling. He immediately declared critical condition and locked me in a cage. A few hours later, a nurse came in with a glass of water. But after I drank it, I fell straight asleep. I woke up on the operating table. The doctor standing over me said, "The energy drinks have done serious damage." He handed me a jar of mustard and walked away. The next day, they released me. Every morning, I covered myself in mustard from head to toe. My whole family was watching me, trying not to laugh. I had no idea it was all planned, just to get me off energy. The doctor injected something into my arm, saying, "This won't hurt a bit," but I couldn't handle it. My teacher hit me with a ruler yelling, "Get out of my class," and showed me my test where I got an F. A cashier pointed a price gun at me shouting, "Don't move." Everyone immediately started looking at me like I was a criminal. A second employee locked the door so I had no way out. And the moment they started crowding me, I spotted a door and ran straight through it. But there was a security guard triple my size. I grabbed a sausage from a shelf and threw it across the room, so he went straight after it like a dog, and I escaped jumping through the window. But when I looked up, they were already chasing me. So I grabbed a random kid's stroller and pushed it straight at them, but it didn't even slow them down. Then I saw a man on an electric wheelchair, so I threw him out and stole it, thinking I could ride faster. But it just got them closer when suddenly I rode into a bollard. I was midair thinking I'm finally getting arrested until I landed straight into a passing garbage truck and got away from them. When I peeked out, nobody was there, so I climbed out and ran straight home. After a few days, I got absolutely angry, but I didn't have any food, so I shaved my head and changed my clothes so nobody would recognize me. I went to the store, but they immediately spotted me, and when I tried to run, the security guard grabbed me from behind. But when the cashier walked up, she just said, "I still owed you a pen." Cashier pointed a price gun at me shouting, "Don't move." Everyone immediately started looking at me like I was a criminal. A second employee locked the door so I had no way out, and the moment they started crowding me, I spotted a door and ran straight through it. But there was a security guard triple my size. I grabbed a sausage from a shelf and threw it across the room, so he went straight after it like a dog, and I escaped jumping through the window. But when I looked up, they were already chasing me. So I grabbed a random kid's stroller and pushed it straight at them, but it didn't even slow them down. Then I saw a man on an electric wheelchair, so I threw him out and stole it, thinking I could ride faster. But it just got them closer when suddenly I rode into a bollard. I was midair thinking I'm finally getting arrested until I landed straight into a passing garbage truck and got away from them. When I peeked out, nobody was there, so I climbed out and ran straight home. After a few days, I got absolutely angry, but I didn't have any food, so I shaved my head and changed my clothes so nobody would recognize me. I went to the store, but they immediately spotted me, and when I tried to run, the security guard grabbed me from behind. But when the cashier walked up, she just said, "I still owed you a pen." Cashier pointed a price gun at me shouting, "Don't move." Everyone immediately started looking at me like I was a criminal. A second employee locked